Right, welcome once again to the graphic design bootcamp. This is day one of graphic design bootcamp, and you already know my name is David Simon, and I'm going to be your instructor for today's assignment. Today we've actually gone through the everything we need to know about Photoshop, which is the tools, the panel, how Photoshop works, what is actually Photoshop, and then how to use Photoshop to create a design. So since we are beginners, today we are acting as if we are beginners. We are going to make this simple and this very nice flyer. All right. So let me just go straight into Photoshop. Okay. So like we know already, I'll just create a new file. I'm going to put my width on 10 and then my height on 12. No, I think let me put it on 11. All right. And then my resolution is going to be 300 because it's going to be a social media flyer and it will not be really big. But when you are doing anything, like I said earlier, you're going to do anything like banner or anything, those big banners, you don't need to put your resolution at 300. The reason why it's being so is that it creates more megabytes. Like your file becomes very big, and then when you send it to the printing press, they can't be able to print it and all that. Some of you would like I was saying earlier, some of you will doing most PR works for companies and organizations, and then you might need these tools and then these techniques to be able to work with. All right, so I just go to create new. All right, so you know what? Let me import the work we are currently going to work with into Photoshop. So I just open the file explorer and then I copy it and then drag. So it is loading. All right, so this is what we are going to work on today as beginners. All right, so we are firstly as a designer, what you need to do first is to think about your background, like I said earlier in our online class. So I'll just go to the foreground color. You see, when I hover my mouse over it, it will come the foreground color. Set a foreground color. I click and I select a color. All right, so you can also use the color codes. Like I was saying in the first lesson, there are many sites you can use to learn color codes. Designers, web designers, that's where they get all their color codes from. So you can also use the color code. So this color code I'm using for this class is #3383CB. All right, so let's go to our project and then I'll go to set adjustment or fill and then I go to solid color and then it's there for me. All right, so when you look at our design, you realize that it's not just, you realize there's something at the back. Okay, so why normally most designers we used to do this is because it makes the design catchy. Like it's like you are implementing other things to make it work, just like web designers to be able to. All right, when we start migrating to UI UX, you guys will understand a lot more better. So I'll just go to my file explorer. One way that you can do this is by just holding and then dropping it in your work. Okay, so let me undo this. You can also let me undo this. You can also do undo. You go to file, and then you go to place embedded. You navigate to where your item is, and then you click on it, and then it's pasted. All right, so I'm just going to hold shift. Some of you don't really need to hold shift because your settings are is in such a way that you don't need to hold shift. But me, I want to hold shift so that I can be able to resize it without it distorting. If you don't hold shift, let me undo this. If you don't hold shift, look at how it's that it distorts. You realize that it's not really in order, it's not really in shape. You can see it. But when I hold shift, let me undo this. When I hold shift, I drag, I'm able to put it on the line. All right. So one thing that I forgot to talk to you about is the rulers. What rulers actually does, it gives you guidelines. Some of the rulers you can do it for, some of them too you can drag it yourself and then to your preference. I normally like to drag it because sometimes the work you are going to do is a whole lot. Like I mean it's a whole lot. So sometimes you bringing in rulers or guidelines, for instance, and when I go to okay, so let's go to guides. All right, so I'm coming just a minute. Um, on this view, um, show. All right, so let's say great. You realize that it's a whole lot. Like it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. I'll be confused when I'm but as a beginner. I think all you need to do now is to make sure only your rulers are active. So like you can just do control R, and then your rulers are gone, control R, and then it's in. So when you look over here, you realize that This is where our rulers are. So you just click on it, you drag it, it comes to your workspace. You click on the vertical side too, and then it's there. All right. So now that we brought our background, you realize that um we it's not really showing like that. So what you can actually do is what you can reduce opacity. You can reduce opacity. Yes, and then it's just yes. So let's say my opacity is 30. All right, so I like it like this. All right, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to put in the lady. Let's put in the lady first. All right, so what we are going to do is that we are going to bring in the lady. All right, so I'm going to show you two ways where okay. So let me bring it first so that before I can show you. So all right, so this is the lady. You realize that the lady is on a white background. There are most cases that you get different backgrounds. So what I did was that I cropped the lady out of the white background so that I can be able to get this. I've already done it and it's inside the folder I'm going to send to you guys, which is this. Yes, I've already done it. I'm going to show you a simple way for you to do this, and this is very easy, especially if your machine is very fast. All right, so what you're going to do is that I normally go to the quick selection tool, which is W. You just click on W and then you have the quick selection tool. And I go to select subject. We don't want this video to be very long, so we are going to do everything. We are going to make the machine do everything quick for us, and that is why it is a machine, right? All right. So you realize that I hold space and then I'm going to scroll in. You realize that it has done some selection for us. Guys, that there's some selection over here. All right, so this selection has just cut out the lady out of it. So when you go to select and max, all right, so let me take the step again so that you don't get confused. So what I actually do is that undo this. I went to W, which is quick selection tool, and then I went to select subjects at the top here, and then I clicked on it. It will load a bit, and then it will select the subjects that we want. So it is selecting the lady as the subject. So when you go to select marks, you realize that okay, it has done a very great job by what? So we don't need to now go and use the lasso tool and then we are doing a cutout. It's a oh, it was like it was you will spend a lot of time and then you know time is money. Your client will be waiting for you, you're going to do all that. Now there are also many tools for you to you can go online and you can also look for um 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 how do we say it? You can say okay, remove background. There are sites that you can just remove background and then you save it as a JPEG and then you are good to go. So I go to okay and then I duplicate. How do we duplicate? I said it earlier in the previous class that you duplicate by click holding control and then you click J and then you see that automatically it has cut out. Wow, this looks very good. Yes, this looks very good. All right, so I'm going to click on V, which is actually the move to, and I'm going to bring our lady a little bit here. All right, so like we already know in Photoshop we work with layers. Yes, we work with layers. In the morning, in the online class, we learned about layers, we learned about everything. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is that beneath the ladies layer, I'm going to create a rectangle. So I'll go to the rectangle tool, which is U. So the shortcut is U. When you hover your mouse over it, it gives you the shortcut. So you can see that it says rectangle towards U. And then I'm going to click on a portion of my workspace and then drag. Yes, and then drag. This looks very good. All right, so you realize that the color has what? The color is what? Blue. This is it because it has picked the color from the foreground color. So all I need to do is that I need to click here, which is fill, and then I need to do what? I need to set this to white, and then I'm good to go. Wow, this looks very good. Okay, so let's position it very well. All right, I think this looks very good. This look okay. Let's bring it a little bit. All right, this looks very good. Okay, so what we are going to do next is what? We are going to bring in our text like we already know. Okay, so our text basically the font that I used was what? Montserrat. Montserrat is one of the nicest fonts and one of the bold fonts you can use. You know, we have many fonts. I'll send you links on where to download fonts, nice fonts, all for free and all that. Okay, so I select my text to by basically text is T, so I click on the T key on my keyboard. Okay, great. And then what? I click on my workspace. I increase the size. So let's say I want to increase the size to 63. And then what? I set my parameters to what? So let's do it extra bold. Yes, we want it to be extra bold. Why? Because you realize that this is extra bold. Yes, this is actually extra bold. So we say what? Learn productive designs. So let's type in. Let's see whether it is okay. So it is capital letters. So learn and productive designs. Great, great, great. This looks very, very great. All right. So one thing you should know over here that in Photoshop, in text editing, there's something called alignment. Alignment is like you need alignment. Without alignment, your work will become scattered. Do you understand? So what I actually did here was that I aligned this. So let me go to the properties tool. So this is my properties tool. Yes, I can drag it for you guys to see. This is my properties tool. Yes, so this is my actually my properties too. So you realize when you look here, you see paragraph. You see paragraph. If you want to locate the properties tool, just go to Windows and then look for properties. So this is it. It's checked. All right. So you realize that when you come to paragraph, you come what the right alignment, and then you come to the middle alignment, and then you come to the this is actually the left alignment, the right alignment, and this is actually the left alignment. So because of where my image is, I decided to what? Okay, so let me put my alignment over here. So I gave it a right alignment. This looks very, very good. Okay, but you realize something. Let me hold space and then increase. You realize something. You realize that there's a space over here. Do you know why? It's because when I was typing, I gave in a space before so you realize that this space, when you want the text to go beneath, you don't need to bring in a space because it will distort your work. So you realize that now it's in line. Yes, that is what I mean. Okay, so let's increase our font a little bit. Okay, let's do it what 70. I think 70 looks good. No. Okay, let's okay, so when you want to use this panel, the option panel, you need to highlight it first. Or when you need to use the property, you always need to be using the properties too. Okay, so I think let's do this one a little bit 90, and then let's increase the spacing to what 80. Okay, this looks very, very good. All right. So no, it seems it's so big. You can see it from here. Let me bring the lady down a bit. It looks it's like it's so big. It's so big. Okay, so let me reduce it. Let me reduce it. Okay, so I think 80 is good, and then let's set the space into what 75. Yes, I think 75 is a whole lot. So let's do the space in 70. Okay, so basically, as a beginner, because we are beginners, that's why I'm taking my time to go through. There's a whole lot, and I can't go very slow. So I think this is one of the nicest way I can make you understand. So, all right, so I think now we are good to go. One thing I like to do when it comes to colors is that I like to normally use the colors that are within my workspace. So, for instance, the ladies' color, I like to use it a lot. That is why you realize that the rectangle here matches the ladies' color. So all I did was so we are going to work with the we are now going to build our rectangle with Google Development Student Cloud. So what I actually did was that I went to my U, which is the rectangle tool, and then I click, I drag. Yes, this is what actually I did. I click and then I drag. Okay, so let it be a little bit smaller. And then what I did was that I set my foreground color to the lady's dress. Yes, so I gave it a little bit. Okay, so this looks great. This looks great. Yes. So this is it. And then what? I went to my what? My move to. So it's what V. Sometimes you can get confused, but it's okay. It's all right. All right. So what I did was that, and let me increase the width a little bit. So these are just properties. You can work around it. You can work around it, and then you are good to go. So I want the edges to be it should be a little bit rounded. So you go to the properties tool, then you select your layer, and then what do? You you make a rounded selection. So I'll give it what 15 pesos. I think 15 pesos looks a little bit okay. So that it's not like it doesn't look like just a square, but it's actually it doesn't look like a rectangle, but it's actually a what a rounded rectangle. All right, great. So we are going to put type in our with what with Google Developer Student Club. All right. So the font I used was what Montserrat Medium. Okay. So I'll make the font available for you guys. And then so all right, so I think we need to bring this layer to the top. Okay, so I'm going to change the color to white, and then I'm going to make it medium. All right, then I'll decrease it. Great, this looks very good. All right, so let's type in our with Google developer developer student club. All right, so it looks a little bit big. So let's decrease the size. I think 20. So I told you that when you want to use the option panel, you need to click and then you highlight. Don't forget. But when you are using the properties, you don't need to highlight. You just need to go and then you are good to go. All right, so let me go V and then okay. So let's reduce the font a little bit to 15. Great. No, 15 is small. All right. So this looks good. All right. So I'm just going to. All right. So you can in Photoshop the objects that you are creating you can actually hold all of them together and align them. So look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold control, click on the rectangle, click on the with Google Developer Student Club, go to the option panel. You realize that an alignment is here. I can put them in the middle like this. I can also decide to what align all of them to the left. All right, so I think I'll align all of them to the left. But since it's so close to there, I'll just need to manually yes. So basically, this is it. This looks very, very good. All right. So yeah, what we are going to do next is that. So it seems. So you realize that here the rectangle is a little bit lighter than ours, but I think this one also looks very great. But anyway, what I did was that I decreased the opacity. Yes, I just decreased the opacity. That looks very good. All right. So what we are going to do next, we are going to what bring in our learn graphic design that tips and trick. Learn graphic design that tips and trick that can scale. Oh, I think I made a mistake on this one. So actually it's a typing mistake. You can type and then you won't fast. So one thing that you're supposed to see, you are supposed to be watching always is what typing mistake before you send designs to client, before you create anything on a website or anything, before you make them upload, because sometimes your clients will not see. Okay, so that is also one tip and trick I can give you. All right, so it's a learn graphic design with tips and tricks. Yes, I'm sure it is with tips and tricks that can scale up your designing career. So, um, all right. So, learn graphic design with tips and trick that can scale up your designing career. All right. So let me bring this. Let me align it to the middle. And then we are good to go. All right, so you realize that the spacing is too much. It's because what? It's because earlier on we did the spacing 70. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the spacing 20. And I want my text to be aligned this way. Wow, this looks great. Okay, so what we are going to do next is I think I'll pause this video and then so that we don't get a large amount of video. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we are going to do next by adding what by adding the logo and then the graphic design bootcamp with also the social media handles. All right, guys, welcome back. So we are continuing with our today's lecture on graphic design. All right, so now we are okay to go. So what we want to do now is to bring what our what graphic design bootcamp and then with the Google developers. So don't forget this is Google developer students Google Developer Students logo. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all that. Okay, so because this course was brought to you by Google Developer Students Club, so I'm going to bring in our logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the logo. So this is it. So GDSC logo. I'll provide it for you guys in the file. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to. So I opened it. Don't forget I opened it. But what I'm supposed to do actually is to what? Is go to place embedded and then click and then it is being placed on our current work. It is not sent to any other place. All right. So I think I need and I'll reduce the size. I hold shifts earlier, like I said. Please don't hold shift because it won't work for you. Maybe depend on the computer you're using, it won't work for you. So it's not compulsory for you to hold shift. But if you realize that the shape you are bringing in is distorting, that's when you're supposed to hold shift. Like you are dragging it and then it is stretching. That's like let me say stretching. Yes. And then so this is our logo now. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring in our test, which is what graphic design bootcamp. All right. So let's do graphic design bootcamp 1.0. Graphic, let's do it capital letters. Graphic design bootcamp 1.0. All right. So like I was saying, do it capital letters. You can actually write it in small letters and then you can change it in your properties window to become what. So I just go to properties. This makes it what? This actually boldens it to be 2. Okay. All right. So it seems since I did it in capital letters, I'm sure it won't. But it seems you can work around these two and then you know how it works. Okay. So let's move on. So V, let me what duplicate it by what? Holding control and then clicking on J. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to do this one small letters. So this one will be Google Developer Student Club. Great. All right. So one thing that you can do when designing is that you can choose to make one of your tests stand out. Designing is very simple, but it's not really hard. It's just that when you know the techniques. Okay, so right now I'm designing, I'm a marketer. So what will make your design different is how you are able to implement your shapes, your text and all that. So this one I made all what medium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the Google developer what semi bold so that you see that it stands out a bit than the graphic design bootcamp. So people's attention and concentration center on what? The one that is bolding. Do you understand? And then note people like to use bold, people like but what I actually like to use mostly is what um to use bold font. All right, so let's continue with what we are doing. So now we are done with the what Google Developer Students Club. I think the font is a little bit big. So let's just do our move. We shouldn't do our test. Let's just do our move and then great. We are good to go. Yes. We actually want to communicate with what learn productive designs. It's not the logo and all that, but all makes the design very nice. Okay, so what we are going to do next is what we are going to bring in what the social media handles. Like I said, don't forget to follow us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, GDSC KTU, Google Developer Students Club KTU. Okay, so I'm going to place embedded again. Don't forget you can drag and drop, but basically I like place embedded. And then what I'm going to what reduce the size. So what I actually do is that since I'm going to bring Instagram also, I can choose to what I can choose to say okay then let me bring in my rulers. Do you get me? Let me bring in my rulers so that they all what be in the same angle. So I can choose to bring my rulers. Yeah. Okay, so you see that it's now in the real space. So let's bring in our Instagram logo. Okay, so this one is already what? Alright, so let's bring so that they are all in the same size. So this is what the rulers actually this is the work of the ruler. So it actually makes you align things very well. All right, great. So this course it's just we are just guiding you. We are just going to guide you on how to become good and intermediate and then a pro in designing. We can't actually teach you everything, but as you are going on, you realize that okay, this is that, and you are good to go. All right, so I click on T, which is text, and then what? I change my color to what? Black. I want it to be at the same as the color of the what? The logos. So let me do it what? Semi bold. No, let me do it medium, and then I'm going to add GDSC what? KT KT. I like using Montserrat font a lot because it makes your design stand out in the what? Designing space. All right, so this is it. Wow. Let me drag it a little bit. So don't forget, you can see that my rulers are all working. All right, so let's align them very well. We can choose to make we can choose to make our images and then our Facebook and Instagram and then the Google Developer Students Club. We can choose to make it what small, but I think for now this is okay so that you know how to what work with both fonts. When you become a pro, oh, I'm telling you, you do many things and you'll be like, wow, this designing thing is very nice. And then this is what when you are designing when you are designing websites and all that, you think about the font, you make sure that the font is not too bold, and all that. Make sure that it catches the attention and all that, and then you are good to go. You don't really need anything. So what I'm going to do next is what? Follow us for more updates. Follow us for more updates. So I'm going to change this font. So it's medium. So let me give it what? Semi bold. All right, great. No. Okay, so let me reduce the font a little bit. This is 15. Okay, great. So that it can stand out. Okay, great, great. I think this looks very nice. What do you think? Okay, so we are what? Good to go. Let me send my rulers back to where they came from. All right. So because today is like beginner, this is one of the simple flyer you can do. I think. All right. So let me let me um, let me align this very well. Great. This looks great. All right. So this looks I think this looks very good, like for beginners, for some of us who are beginners. So all right. So the next time I'm going to teach you is I've already taught you, but I think I need to do it again. You go to file, you are going to save it, you go to file, you can actually export, but when let's save it as PSD file, you just go to save, you go to what? You name it as what? Designing bootcamp one. Okay, and then you save it as what? PSD. All right, so I've already saved one. All right, so let me save this one for you guys to see. I've already saved one, so there's no need for me saving again. To just consume space. All right, so when you want to save as normal flyer for anybody to see a design and all that, you go to what? Save copy, save as copy, and then you click on the drop down menu of the save type, and then you go to what? JPEG. This is it. So JPEG, and then you are going to save it. All right. And then another way you can do it is what you can go to what export, and then you can go to export as it brings up a panel. Then yes, we don't need it as a PNG. We need it as what? A JPEG, JPG. So you get JPG, you just click on export, and then you are good to go. It's exported. All right, great, great, great. So this is what we have for day one. I'm sure this is going to help some of us people we some of us who are already pros and intermediate. I know you've got one or two things, one or two tips, and I'd like to also learn from you. And then the beginners, this is one of the nicest flyer you can do. Don't forget to try. When you get error, continue trying, then you'll be good. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll be waiting for all of you to submit your work to me. Thank you very much for joining the class today.